Hello again, I'm Dan the Meek, and I'm here again to give another beginner deck building guide. To this time, we're going to focus on making a 3-pack ethereal deck, and then we're going to take it into a match and see how it goes. So initially, I would thought about going into a rank match, seeing how that would go. Done that, I think, on stream before, commentated. And I may do that again in the future, but since this is meant to be more of a teaching video, I think I'm actually going to go over another feature, another mode that as a new player, it's good to be aware of, as it's untimed, so it'll let me kind of comment more and not feel rushed at any point. So that mode is Play versus AI. So like campaign mode, which is also versus AI, this one, no humans involved, just yourself. And you have all the PvP formats available to you to test stuff out against computers of various difficulties. Great place for a new player. If you want to try out a constructed deck, some idea you have, go in here, give it a try against any of these AIs and see how it goes. Same with single pack. You're not sure if this is a good pack. This is a great way to validate it. And 3-throw, I mean, I think it's a good way to get familiar with it. This one's more of an even format. It's always going to be random, so probably most fun with other humans, but it is available to you as well. Again, it's a low pressure, untimed area where you can take your time, try stuff out, see what happens. And especially if you're free to play, don't have anything invested at this point, so your connection is small or non-existent, this is a way to just jump in with nothing and get to playing. So on that note, I'm going to go hard for my difficulty, and let's just jump right in. So every time with 3-pack ethereal, you're given 3 random packs. So is your opponent. They're not the same packs. And you try to make a deck from those 3 packs and play them against each other. That's the idea. So it's a sealed format rather than a draft format, but pretty fun. The key things for me when I'm building a deck with my 3 packs is first, I always start with my command. I mentioned this in the other one, and again, we're going to be applying those principles here from the previous video, but stuff will be a little different just because it's 3 packs its own thing. With this, sometimes you're not going to have command available, and if that's the case, you're going to have to pivot and make some other decisions based on that fact. Knowing you can't correct things, you might be less likely to try stuff that is easy to disrupt. You might be a little bit more inclined toward like a rooted, for instance, or enforced than, say, flight or especially aura. If you can't save your aura, it could be trouble there. So that's always something to keep in mind. So in this case, I got lucky. We got 3 of them. We got options. I could even go 2 or 3 command if I wanted to, and I have. So now we're just looking at stats on them. What spreads do we like? I can go fast, slow. If I have a preference, I'm generally going faster or slower, as I mentioned in the previous video. But like this 11 here, in this format, since we all have so few cards, 11 would still be fine. Again, it is fine in anything, but it's less of a disadvantage, I'd say, here, because my opponent's also working with less cards to choose from, so they're probably going to have to pick some suboptimal numbers, and 11 might beat a 9 or a 10. That would see less play usually in a constructed format. But in any case, this stat spread's fine. I don't mind this at all, but this stat spread's fantastic. This one's not bad either. So we got a lot of actually decent choices here. Because just a review from last time, we got our small side is very small and it's opposite our biggest side. I love that. We got a pretty strong corner. This one's got a nice arrow to it. This one, not as ideal. The 34 is not opposite the 2, but we do still have a strong corner. So this one would be fine as well. This one, again, weakest side, opposite strongest, and we have a strong corner. So it's got less stats than the rest because of that high speed, so that is something to consider. You have to get by with just 24 for our highest stat here. But the other options are 29, 34. We're not giving up too many points. I think I'm okay going there to get that guaranteed to go first. So I'm going to pick that for my command. I can always come back later and add a second if I want. Probably won't. Usually we're going for 1. If I'm playing someone I play a lot, then I'm definitely mixing up my commands. I don't want them to know what I'm going to do. So I don't want them to say, okay, he hasn't played a command. He knows it's coming at some point, and vice versa. He's played the command. Well, now I know I'm safe. He's never, for all my disruptions, going to go through unspoiled. I want to keep him guessing. So, but that's, as a beginner player, I think just stick with one if you can get it, and you're going to be fine most of the time. I didn't mention in the other video, but the risk of going multiple commands is that if I draw these both in my opening hand, for instance, so this one and this one, the effects are guaranteed to fizzle. There's nothing to command on turn one. So double command opening hand is the worst hand you can get in the game. So that's a risk. You're always risking that potential that can happen in the small 8-card deck. It's just a possibility. It's gonna, if you play enough, it's definitely gonna happen. With that in mind, if I do go multiple, I ideally would like at least one of them to be lower speed so that they're more like a foundational card, where I'm still fizzling the fact that's sub-ideal, but at least I'm probably able to take a high ground and put a strong body on the field because the slow speed resulted in high stats. I don't have that here. The 11 still doesn't have that much stats, so I'm less inclined to go double command or triple command than I would be if I had a slower option to pair with my fast option. All right, what do we do next? So looking at our distributions, is there anything we have a lot of? Is there anything we have nothing of? We actually got super lucky here. We got a little bit of everything. Usually there's going to be I don't know if it's usually, but often I find there's a few of these I didn't get any of, and so I have to keep that in mind that I'm not going to have access to that. But in this case, I got all options available to me. So I'm probably just going to look through and see which ones I like. So same principles from before. Try to get about half foundational, half manipulation. We've already got one manipulation in the deck. We got our support. Let's look at a foundational. So Aura is tricky in this. It's tricky in general, but particularly in 3-pack ethereal. In constructed, you can build around it, and you generally want to build around it. It's a powerful combo card. So it's, if you can make the combos work, it can really swing matches for you. But if you don't have the combos, it's a bit more reliant on luck. You can manipulate to some degree, but at some point you just need your opponent to play into something you can take advantage of. So here, to use her, great speed, I can play into something, but I need my opponent to somehow have a card above and below I can play between, more than likely, unless there's like a really low on the corner. And even then, they need to make me a corner that I can win with a 24 and 7 or something like that. So there's a lot of risk involved. This dragon is interesting just because of the fact that they are so well-rounded that if I do have the cards in here that I need for it, this can be hard to disrupt. If I can play against something that has a 13 or less on both sides, then nothing short of a stomp can stop me. And even if it's just on one side, there's I'm playing against a low ground, then I just need to be able to move around this 28 to win the other side, and the low side I'm guaranteed to win. So there's some aura traps you can set up with a dragon like this. I'm going to keep that in mind, but again, we'll see what we have before we decide if we want to use aura this time. Since we're talking about it, let's take a look at stomp, because you usually want stomp involved if you're going to go aura. And we do have a good stomper here. I'm just taking him outright. We also have a good stomper dragon. I like this guy a lot. He's got the strong arrow here that I love to see, and a 1 across from the 35. Even if I take this guy, I might be tempted to go double stomp just for that dragon, because that's what you want to see. Decent stats because it's a 6 speed. Stomp can be fast or slow. 6 is perfectly acceptable, especially in three for all here. The 3-pack ethereal. It's a format where I feel like, again, 6 would be a fine setup. It's going to be on the slower end, but I don't mind going second with stomp because then there's more targets for me to stomp. So I'm going to tentatively just select that, but we'll decide. We're just making initial predictions here. Again, I'm not under a time crunch. If we're under a real-time game, not async, then I have to make choices a little quicker than we're doing here. But all the more reason to just select some stuff, and then I can always remove it later. So this is giving me a bunch of manipulation now. So I've got 3 manipulation cards, and I don't have a single foundational card. So we really want to focus on foundational now. Let's see what we got. In our other video, we didn't do any flight, so let's actually take a look at flight. Flight is one of these where I personally, it's okay in constructed, but not my favorite type. But I do like it a lot in 3-throw or single pack. Um, it's just really easy to score at least 2 points with the flight, especially if you got a strong corner. Then you can even get the 3 or 4 if you're lucky. And this one is very nice. This Phoenix lady here, that 46 is almost guaranteed 2 points somewhere. And then 17 on a corner, I have a real shot at getting 3 to 4 points with her. And if I am running double stomp, I'm going to be able to set up for her too. So setup is nice. It's almost essential for Aura. Aura is going to guarantee you that 4 if you can set it up. Here, it's a little more contingent on what their power is. If I can get 3 or 4, but having the ability to set up for it makes the flight even more desirable. So 16 speed as well. So I'm going to place it where I want. It's min-max perfection. I love this card here. Let's look at our other options. So it's very fast speed in this this 3-pack here. A couple Phoenixes in addition to the Phoenix Lady, and then the Pterodactyl here. Pterodactyl, it's this would be one I might be more inclined to pick if I didn't get command, because then I don't have to worry about, like, 16 as its lower side. I can very easily place this somewhere where they just can't disrupt it, again, short of maybe a stomp. So that would make this distribution more appealing, but because we have the command, I'm tending to want to go more for min-max type stuff. This one, I wish the one was opposite the 49, but 49 is still really nice for flight. With flight, I'm looking for big numbers, generally speaking. That again, a 46 means I'm almost always going to get 2 points when I play this, and it's not true for every type that's always going to happen. So that's very appealing. Same with this 49. 39, not as consistent. The actual spread is better. And I could go multiple flight here, but let's just take a look at more of our options and then come back. I actually wouldn't mind going all fire here. Just all Phoenixes would be kind of fun. But we already looked here. If we do go flights, I'm not going Aura as well. I usually go one or the other, although you can. If this had a better corner, maybe. I don't mind this 7 here. Again, Aura is one where I don't mind having a little bit more overall, but I do need at least one strong corner, or at least one strong side, and the 24 is its highest isn't ideal. I'd much rather this be like 12, and that's 34. That would make that more appealing to me. As far as fear options, we got a nice corner here. It's very min-maxed. And this one is more of a split. Not the end of the world because it's a fear, but I still think I like this guy better. We'll think about that. We already have so much disruption. I'm not sure I want to jump on any of those guys yet. I don't like the split at all for Confuse. Confuse, I want my strong corner, or I want a strong arrow, or just one strong side. I do not like a split like this, so 14 speed's pretty fast for a 3-pack, so that's not bad, but not good enough in my mind. If I have better options, I'm not going to include them. Our Medusa here, again, somewhat split. This one's more playable. It's closer to an arrow. I don't love it. The 10, again, is middling, which isn't the end of the world, but in 3-pack, it's also still something to consider. So we'll see. I might not include a Confuse this time because I'm not falling in love with either of these cards. If I am, though, it's probably going to be the Medusa. Rooted. So we got split, not a fan. We got, man, everything's split. Unfortunate. 44 is not too bad, and we got a nice lower speed. I generally prefer faster on my rooted, as I mentioned before. Unfortunately, the faster is well-rounded, and rooted is one I don't like well-rounded on. The whole point is it's immune to being flipped, so having a weak side doesn't matter because they can't flip me into my weak side. So this is an unfortunate stats because 16 speed is nice. That's going to often get you first in 3-pack. Which I should mention here, that like because there's less options. 16, not, may or may not, but often not going to in constructed. You're going to go second if they're going 17 or up. And here, the odds that 16 is good enough are much higher if your goal is to go first. But again, I don't like that stat spread. This one's the most appealing of the group. It's got what I want, a strong corner, 42 across from a 4. I'm going to keep this one in mind. I might include this Moss Golem here. But let's take a look at our range as well. I don't like the 27 opposite the arrows, so that's no good. And 21 opposite the arrows is also suboptimal. So these are not great. 40 on the side isn't bad, but none of this is standing out to me, so I think I'm going to move on for the moment. Again, my main complaint here is the 27's on the wrong side, the 21's on the wrong side here, and neither of them have incredible low or high speed either, so there's not much appealing about this particular setup. Apparently we have a Enforced Dragon as our third Unseen Dragon, and it has a fantastic stat spread. Probably like a little bit more min-max than that, but I don't mind having a little on the back end of an Enforced, and it's, again, harder to mess with. And with the Dragon, it can score potentially 6 points since it's flying with the distribution like this. So we'll see if we really want the double stomp. I think I might still like that stomp one better, but this is very good. As is this fella. I would prefer a corner here rather than a split, but 45 is also solid. And I mean, this can really go between something and do some work. I think I'm going to go with the Tornado. 41 at 18 speed is just fantastic. We'll hold off on that. Let's look at our count again. So we got 2 foundations, 3 manipulations. As a reminder, consider the Dragon a pseudo foundation. He's got more stats than any other, and he's got flight and range, no matter what. So we're somewhat even at this point, leaning still a little bit more on the manipulation side, but we could really go either way from here. And have we seen everything? I think we have now. So with that in mind, let's decide how we're going to fill out these last spots. So we'll go back to stuff we were thinking about. I said I kind of like this guy. I wish he was faster instead of in the middle, but the stats are reasonable, so I think I'll grab him. This is my favorite of the Confused, but I don't love it. I did love a bunch of these. That actually, I might go that over my Giant here, just for the fun of it. But these are some solid flyers. So now I'm going triple flyer, which case I might pull him. We'll think about it. I might just go double flyer, but let's look back at our manipulation options we skipped. We never grabbed him. I will definitely take that. So let's count them up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 foundations, 1, 2, 3, 4 manipulations. So again, it's a little foundation heavy because of the Dragon, but I consider him like a half foundation. This is still roughly even. I think this is fine. This does mean we have to consider when we're playing here that we only have 2 disruptions as far as non-Dragon. We have this Stomp and we have this Fear. We have no Confuse option, so we can't hit anyone from an angle. They don't know that, but we need to keep that in mind. But again, just if I pull this early, I might hang on to it if I've used them all up. Whereas the foundations, I don't have to worry about because I know there's a bunch more in the deck. I'm going to be drawing them quite a bit. Looking at our stats, we see 46, 49, 41, 39, 37, 35, 33, 24 as our highs. So we can go a lot of different directions with our territory. We have 47. If I went that route, then only this one can get it, and it wouldn't be able to get its flight, so I'm not a fan of that. In fact, because we have flight, I kind of want to lean more toward lower so that I have the potential to double up and get a flight and a high ground. 37, this guy, girl, bird. This bird here could get a 3 off of that. I like that, and I think that might push me that way. The 41, this guy couldn't clear it anyway. He can clear everything here. Unfortunately, that 37 can't clear that 37, but I'm ideally never playing my fear against the high ground anyway, so not too worried about that. This guy also can't clear, but 33, that will allow him to push someone off here and get high ground off of that if we can. We can push him to the right, all the better with that 20 there. Again, we generally don't want to play our command against the high grounds. That means something's gone wrong, so I wouldn't worry about these stats too much. 35, unfortunately, we can't get the triple with him. So that's only 6 over. We need 10 over to activate flight. 39 does get it, though. So this is the winner for us. We have a lot of ways to get triple points, just a lot of ways. We have some good setups here for like our stompers. It isn't ideal for him, but again, these two we're not really caring about because we're not playing against this ideally anyway. So all in all, worst opening hand would be command and this fear. If that happens, c'est la vie. You gotta live with whatever it's gonna be. But even in that worst case scenario, if that does happen for us, I'm playing them. 13 might be good enough to go first, and if it is, I can still take this 29, assuming we get our location, of course. So even that's the worst case scenario, we still have the ability to do some stuff, potentially, if they outspeed us. Well, unless they're rooted, we can then mess them up by fearing them. So we're just trying to stack everything up so everything has a way to work in our favor, or at least neutral if we can. And I think we've done as best as we can to achieve that. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and start a match. All right, so take a look, and we did luck into getting our territory, so that's always great. One thing I didn't mention on is these high-low grounds. Neither of them are single digit. It's going to make it harder for them if they want aura. So that's also a nice thing about going this route, because we're not going aura, is that we've made it more difficult on our opponent here to pull off aura, because they can't play against the small side and have a situation where no matter how we rotate them, they're always getting one side. Because again, aura just needs 2 sides. If it can always guarantee one, then all it has to do is put the highest side against something else anywhere else, and it's going to score its aura and get a huge point infusion. So something always to consider. If you're going aura, you want to get low sides here you can take advantage of. If you're not, I wouldn't do it at the expense of things that work for you, but if you have the option to go either way, I would choose something that makes it harder for someone who does go aura to activate it against you. All right, back to what we're actually going to do. I would really like that triple on my first turn here, so especially since it looks like I'm going to go first no matter what. And neither of these are guarantees, but they are fast enough to have a high probability of going first in a 3-pack format. And like I said, if I can get the 29 with this 46, that would be the dream. So that's what I'm going to go for. Let's see if our Phoenix lady can do it. Unfortunate. So that was worst case scenario there. They outsped us by 1. It does happen. So now let's talk about what do we do in that scenario. So I could still play against this, but I am 1 short of getting that double. And by the way, you can click here at any time to see the rest of your deck if you've forgotten, especially important for 3-pack where you might not remember. Here, we still have that 49, so we do potentially have the ability still to get a 3-point play with that one later if we draw it. So even though I could get 2 off of that, I'm going to get 2 off of any of these sides. So there's not really an imperative to do that. I'm a little tempted to go against this 1 here, just because then he can't rotate me off of scoring at least 1 point, since everything I have is above 1. The only risk with that is they could rotate themselves off, but then they give up their 2-point high ground here. The other risk is I'm making it a little more appealing for them to go after this corner, because now I'm going to have 2 things facing it. That said, normally, early game, I like to go off of the high grounds, again, for the reason that I can stay safe. They can't rotate me into some scenario where I'm taking damage, but because in this specific scenario, he can't rotate me into damage, and over here, he can't rotate off without giving it up. I actually do think this is the most appealing play to me. It might seem like overkill, but I am going to put the 46 here. That means he cannot prevent me from getting at least 1 point, because if he flips off on me here, if he goes to the left, I'm still winning there. And this also allows me to have the 17 above. I could flip the 2 there, but then I'm only getting 1 to have the 46 up. And this at least makes it a little harder for him to get an aura off of me, or some high-powered flight that I have the 17 facing up. So those are all considerations. Yeah, I think this is what I'm going to do. Let's lock it in. So I'm now behind, since they won the speed point. Something to keep in mind, but it's the beginning of the game, so I'm not going to fret it too much. Since he does not have something I can target, the beauty of a first turn rooted, I'm not going to choose my dragon yet. He is slow, so there is a good chance that whatever they play I could do, but I don't know. It could be another rooted, could be something I don't want to move around, or they might go even slower. So I'm leaning toward going this route here with the tornado. That would allow me to get in here, and it would also, the tornado, because the enforced is on this side, would allow me to prevent him from pushing me up if he does stomp and getting in between all 3 of us. So I think that's where I'm going to go. It's very fast. I tend to prefer fast for the end of the game and slow early, but in this case, I think it just makes more sense. And we didn't really actually build that much slow in this particular deck. It just didn't work out that way. So we got plenty of fast options, even though this is the second fastest. We have that command for turn 7 if we really need to be going first on that turn. Let's do it. Wow. They were going fast as well. So that was a good choice on our part. So for those who are not familiar, in the case of a speed tie, highest power wins out. This is one of the beauties of Enforced. Because their stats are only spread between 3 sides instead of 4, they tend to have higher max side. Not always, but as in this case, it worked out for us. As you can see, their highest was 38, ours was 41, and so we win the speed point and the right to go first. This is kind of worst case scenario for them in the sense that they gave up a bunch of they gave up the speed point, and they're not getting stats in exchange for giving up the speed point because of the fact that we are the same speed. But on the flip side, it's Confuse. They're going to have multiple targets to choose from now. Unfortunately for them, if they did go here, our Enforce will prevent them from confusing us. But they do have the option to flip this way. As mentioned, that's kind of why we set this up, though, because there isn't a way for them to do that that hurts us too much. At most, they're taking away 1 point. Now, the third option here, they could go off of 12. This will still allow them to flip. And if I had to guess, since this is hard mode AI and it tends to make wise choices, that's the route they're going to go. But it surprises me sometimes, as do some of the best players on here. They see stuff I'm not seeing. I'm going to keep this relatively low level. We're not going to talk too much about some of the more advanced stuff we could be thinking about at this moment. But just from a beginner standpoint, these are the things I would suggest. Look at, if I play here, where are they going to confuse me from? What am I going to get? So this gives me 2 points. Nowhere else is going to give me 2 points. And this one makes it so that at most, they can get 1 here and flip this for 1, or they can get 1 here, get nothing. They can get 1 here, they can flip this for 2. So this is, again, this would give them a +1 and us a -2. That would result in a 3-point swing for them, meaning they would have won the turn since we got 2.5 with our speed point. But we have a command, so I'm not super concerned about that, and there's no real way to prevent them from getting something with this Confuse. So let's just go ahead and lock this in. Just for the record, like I said, any other place we're getting 1, they'd still be able to do a flip on us somewhere. And if we did it against them, they could even double turn it against us. So I don't see any other position that wouldn't result in a worse disadvantage. Losing by half a point, I can live with. And again, it's something we know we still have that command to undo if we need to. Sure enough, they played the play I thought they'd play. They really only had 1 orientation, as well as you can see, nothing else. That 11 wasn't quite enough, so they had to give up their 38 to do it. So now we're forced to play a stomp. We don't really have a choice. They're the only stomp option. There's nowhere I'm really excited to stomp at the moment, but both of them can push her off and score twice. If we go 23 to bottom, 35 to the side, we can get 4 off of that. And we'll also be threatening this spot with our range. Either way, we do set up an opening for them to aura or flight this corner against us here. So that's something to consider, but I think probably it's still for the best for us. I think I'm going to favor the dragon. It's a little slower too, so better chance if they go before us, that if they play something else we can take advantage of, that gives us more value, we'll be able to hit it. And I'm not too afraid of them blocking this play. There's not really a way for them to do it. They can't stretch the board to the left or right. We're only 2 columns in so far. They could block a push up by putting up here, but I'm not worried about that. So yeah, let's go with the dragon. They also went with the red dragon, so it's dragon on dragon combat. So they did not stomp. Interesting. This one was already in a sub-ideal spot, but I'm surprised they didn't stomp this away. I guess because of that 44, there's no way for them to not give up a point there. This is one of the reasons you can argue to hold off on doing your command as long as you can, because maybe this scenario happens where the 41 where it is where I don't want it to be long-term protected this card, and maybe I do end up using it somewhere else, then a spot where it was aiming at that wasn't ideal when they flipped it ends up working in our favor. In any case, we have a couple options now. I could push this to the side. That would give me an 8-point swing. You can see that on the side as well here. +5 for me, -3 for them. If we flip it around this way, it's only a 6, but then we don't expose the 1. I'm not too worried about that exposed 1, though. If he goes up here, he is creating a wall for me that has 2 of his targets plus another target. It's making the top side of this just full of targets for me to interact with, and none for him. So that actually works in our favor. Always good to consider board shape. And him playing up there also puts these 2 ranges into play as well. Whereas if the board goes downward, then these get killed off, and only one of his ranges. Well, we're still only 3 rows in, so potentially both of these are still in play. We'll see how things go. Either way, this to me looks like the optimal play here to get that +8. But let's just take a look. We're not under a time crunch here. What we could have done. So we could have also gone this way. You'll see this is a 7-point play. We again get the time +2, +2, +2. So we got a full 6 points. If we ever get the challenges they've talked about where you're having different goals, this could be a cool challenge to go for, a way to get a bunch of points. Right now, though, it doesn't matter. It's about what's best for us overall, as 7 is less than an 8. Otherwise, it's very comparable. It does, the advantage to here is this does create a corner for us, but that 38 is not a super exploitable corner. We can't really push up because of that 38, or the push down up with this one because of 44. We don't have to stomp like they didn't, but I don't think anything else is going to give us even close to good value. If there was the potential to swing this around, like let's say I had a 20 on this side, or if there was a way where I could move this around, so not 20, but and through commanding make this work in my favor, then I would probably favor this one pushed, because then I can consider in the future I'm going to undo the damage it's doing. But that's not the case. If I swap this back, I can either block it with my enforced and just -2, which isn't that good, or I go this way and I get +2 and they still keep their 2. So either way, I'm only getting a 2-point difference. There's no extra value here by that I'm going to gain on having this guy still be here rather than moved away. So we are going to choose to move it away for all the reasons we've discussed. We're going to go with this. One downside here is if I did fear this, remember we don't have a confuse, so we don't even have to consider that as an option. But if I did fear this, I don't have any way to get the double points. So I can score it off of getting here, but then we lose one of our points there. So that's not incredible. And we're also not setting up any corners, which you always like to set up a corner if you can when you're doing some stomp action. But all that said, I still think this is the best scenario for what we have right now. Also, if he has another stomp, he's got to go between a 35 and a 14 here. So the fact that we have the strong side down, while it's not ideal, could still be providing us value. We don't know. Maybe they went multiple stomps as well. So with that in mind, let's lock it in. So we built ourselves a little bit of lead, but you saw from an 8-point swing there how quickly things can change, especially since we did not go with a defensive deck. We went with an offensive deck with all this flight. So we want to keep pushing that advantage because it can be undone on us. Well, my general rule of thumb is slower earlier, faster later. The other rule of thumb would be foundations earlier, manipulation later, unless there's something really juicy to target. And right now, there's not anything juicy to target. There's literally nothing I want to target. So I'm definitely going this route. Fortunately, we lost out on that opportunity. There's not a corner we can take advantage of, but we can get 2 in a number of places. So let's do it. They had the same idea, going with their Dark Angel or Fallen Angel. They're going to close off the top of the map. So they've killed off our range. But in doing so, they've also locked in this 1 no longer being a weakness. Now, they had a 1 up there too. So, again, hard mode, AI, they played pretty well. That was a good choice. And we do still have a weak spot here because they have a corner angle at us. If they go for confuse, they could mess this up for us. But there's nothing that completely destroys us because we have 3 strong corners. There's no way they can move us around where we lose on both sides. Also, if they go here, they're going to have to take our range, and they're blocking their own strong side. So I'm not too worried about that threat because they kind of negate much of their value they gain, and they can't even score a point right now since we're not facing that way. We got the Enforce protecting us. All of which is to say, something to keep in mind whenever someone closes a border. And we have the option now, if you want to close the other border and form our shape, we could go over here, we could go over here, and either side will close a side. The advantage to going over here as far as side shaping is it destroys their range because now they're pushed off the board. Now literally only this range is viable and it's hitting in our forest. So perfectly neutered this red dragon's range ability. It's fire breath. But also on this side we have 1, 2, 3 targets we can hit. They only have the 1. So by going here, we force this side into play that's relatively weak sides and tons of targets for us. So we're really encouraged here, or I would say it's in our best interest to force this to be the side rather than this. Because we go here, we just save these 2 sides from being a weakness for them by closing off that side of the wall and making the shape like this. That said, let's see, we do have a corner opportunity, but the 12 isn't good enough, which is probably why they went there, knowing that we couldn't do that and picked the 13. There's no other corners to be had. I could go, again, if we go here, the one advantage to going this side is they cannot win against us. So if we put anything other than the 1 against it, we're getting 2 points. And if they spin us at most, they put us down to neutral. But I don't think that's worth it, especially since we have a fear. So we have the potential to turn those 1s toward us if we want later. So again, I think I'm going to go over here. And the question now is where? The beauty of this being just their side so far is if I can go here and I don't open up any weaknesses because there's no corners. They can only hit 1 on either side. They can't do a corner double. The downside of this is, of course, if they go there, then they've opened up a corner for me. So I don't hate that being available to them. And if I go into, say, the top here, then only one of my spots is available. But I create a corner for them. And no matter how I set myself up, the biggest danger with this corner, other than the corner itself that I create, is that if they play here, now I'm locked in. I can't command them to undo it. 1 and 11, they can flip me to. They can score some big value off of this. And that's the danger going offensive. You're more vulnerable to manipulation. But yeah, I think I want to go here. I don't like putting out this 1, but I want 2 points. If they're going to knock me off it, I want to force them to knock me off it. If they're going to stomp, then they can't push me in any direction. That doesn't keep me getting my 2 points. And none of these others even give me 1 point. And both of these weak spots are spots I want to attack as well. So I may be able to close one off by going there. Let's say they do fear me here, flipping things around. Then I'll have the other corner still available to jump in with my command and undo it. I think this is where I'm going to go. So we maintain our 3-point lead. We have that command, but we don't have anywhere we need it right now. Again, this one, we could get 2 points, but now because they're pointing at it, if we flip us, we're going to give up 1. So it's actually only a 1-point flip, and we can't attack into that 44. Excuse me. So there's not a great spot there. This is pretty nice. I can put the 46 against here and the 17 against there. This is pretty appealing flip, but I'm not. If I was going slower command, I might be a little more let's get in there, but I got a nice fast 19. Almost certainly I'm going to get it where I want it, and there's lots of spots I can play it right now where I'd be able to get in. So even though 24, 18, yeah, I'd only be able to get one of these anyway if I went there, and there's no other safe spot just playing against myself. So not a reason to play this yet, and with the 19, I want to save it for either turn 6 or 7 when there's less spots, so having priority on where to play is more valuable. That means we have to look at this stomper. Is there a value for the stomper? Not really. We can stomp the fallen angel, but as we mentioned, I kind of want to command this one at some point. So that would be breaking up their little corner. That said, there's no guarantee. There may be something else I want to use the command on. And again, it's slow. There might be another target that opens up. Sure enough, they win the speed. So they locked in there. That was not a great use of an aura ability, but the idea most likely by the AI is now that's one less. This card, I have no way to target it now. I can't stomp it. I can't hit it. They've played it without giving me new ways to engage with it. And if I was to command here later, I'm not getting anything fresh because I was already getting 2 here. I'd just be gaining 1 point from the command. So even though it might look like, well, the aura is wasted, and it is, the effect is, this isn't a bad play. They've limited my options. They've scored a point, and they got a speed point on top of that. So they got 1.5 and limited to me to just being able to hit these spots now. I don't think I want to push this one down. I like where it's at. I push it down, then it's going to get a bunch of range it wasn't getting before, and it gives up these 2. That really only leaves this for stomp options. I could just attack, like say go here. That would lock in this, but I'm not gaining much value, so I'm not too worried about locking that in. I don't really want to give up this corner, but a +3 advantage, so +1 -2 to them is still nice. And like I said, while we do have the ability to switch that with the command, there's that whole what is it? 1 in the hand is worth more is better than 2 in the bush. We don't know for sure that we'd even get to do that. We might not have the opportunity, or we might want to use the command elsewhere. This is definitely a 3 in our favor. It does leave some more attack vectors for them, which I don't love, but it is what it is. And we still have at least 2 weak spots for next turn that we can aim at from their side. So let's go ahead and lock in that. We definitely have a ton of weak spots on our end now, though. So we've pushed our advantage to 4.5, which is a good place to be with 6 left. So on turn 6, there's only 2 turns left, 2 speed points, and then whatever can be earned on the board left. 4.5 is a very nice position to be, especially since we've both played our dragon already. We're in a turn where I definitely can really consider playing the command. I mean, I'll always play it earlier if it makes sense, but especially now there's only a few turns left. Because I have 2 options instead of just 1, I'm still not super afraid to hang on to it, though. If I only had 1 viable option, I might want to play it more. Is there a good fear option, though? We mentioned earlier on this is a fear option. It still is. It will create a super weak corner for us, though, and we're just getting 1 point out of it. It's not ideal, and we're blocking one of our own range. That said, it does stop that confused threat. As minimal as it was, it is still some advantage they could get. And I think in this case, 13, well, it might be fast enough. I actually wouldn't mind if it was too slow here, because if there's another better option for us that shows up, that could work to our advantage. But yeah, there's not really a good target for either of these guys at the moment. So let's just go with this. Take the 1 target we do have. We did win. So we got that half a speed, or half a point from the speed point. He can stomp. So let's look at what can they do. How can that hurt us? He pushes this way. He's going to take 2. He'll take 3. He'll gain 1. That does not work out for him well. So I don't think he's going to do that. Although it would create a weak corner for the final turn. But if he does, we're not even worried about that, because we got that 19 speed we can fill it with. Almost certainly, unless they got a 20 or another 19 with higher power. This guy, again, he'll take 1 here. He gives up we no longer get the 1 there, so it's kind of a nullified. And then he can get 1 up there. I mean, we'd lose 1. It's not the end of the world. It's definitely not great, because it would block off another attack vector for us if he's able to squeeze in there. But I'm not too upset if he goes that route. Let's see. If he goes up here, pushes this way, just as a reminder that you can't push into an enforce, but you can push away from it. So in this case, he could push us out. There's no way he doesn't give up 2 to our 35, though. So even though he can, see, 24 on 12, 15 on 17, or 24 on 17, 13. So he can get 2 off of this, but he'd give up 2 back. Then he'd get 2 off of that. He'd end up at a +2. That might be the route they go. I wouldn't entirely hate that, though, because it would put our 41 facing down. And there's just no reason for him to go here, other than, I guess, just to squeeze that in there, because I guess he go 24, 14. We end up with a 1 facing down. I mean, I guess he could go that route too. But I think we're just going to block this. That would be a 2-point advantage for him. We're not going to give him that opportunity. Now we want to consider that he can also push the card we're playing. If he pushes it down, he is going to get what? He'd have to take one here, and he would get nothing. So he's not going to do that, or unlikely. Again, he always has the option to hide the card, but he can hide it better over here. So I think that's what he'll do if he wants to hide it from us. We are creating a super weak corner if we go this way. They're going to be 1, so we really could leave it like this. The only downside of that is then he can go again in here and knock us off 1 and put 1 against us, and he scores a hidden card. It's now hidden here where we can't affect it. But I think that actually we don't mind because this range takes away one of them. So let's go for that. So we're switching them to 1-1. So now there's no way for us to not win this. They cannot do anything about that. Again, if he pushes, because we put our 37 down, he will get the point there. But so we'll lose the one we're scoring, and he'll score 1 against us, but he'll then lose 1 from our range. He'll only end up at a +1, and we'll have a stronger 37 pushed down than if we were oriented the other way. We're less vulnerable, and I think I prefer that at this point. So let's go ahead and do that. We're only getting a net 1, unfortunately. But again, we did get the speed point, so we are 1 plus half overall for the turn. So he really needs at least 2 just to get ahead. And when you're this far ahead of a person, he needs to make up more than that if he's going to have a realistic shot here. See, does he go there like I thought? He does. Exactly the orientation as well I predicted. So again, he allowed him to hide this card. Again, there's no attack vector, just like he did there, because we cannot get at it now. So he has left only this as a viable spot for us. If we lose the speed battle, we have no valid targets as far as attacking. So that's why this kind of a move can make sense. He also, keeps our 1 still available as a weak spot for him. If he can get there to close up our only attack vector, he can get there with anything. 37-4 is still a pretty weak corner over here, but if we need to block it, we can potentially, although I guess if we do block it, anything we'll be able to create in this corner will probably be almost as weak. But let's say he did go for Aura. That's 4 points. We're now up by 5. That wouldn't be good enough. We can't really spin this in any useful way at the moment, unfortunately. But again, 19 speed is nice. And I think that's the most important thing here, rather than getting the 2 from this, because if we lose, we get nothing. 19, we're guaranteed the 1. And if he does outspeed, maybe we can play in whichever spot he doesn't play if he goes over here to undo something or move something to our advantage. But I think with such a big lead, this is where we're going to aim for. Take that 1 point, and then it's on him to make up what? It'll be 6.5 at that point. So he would need to make up 6.5 with just this, with these 2 spots. I'm not seeing that potential here for him. So I think we've won, but let's play it out, find out. So they went super stomp heavy. That was 1, 2, 3 stomps at least. So we already talked about all these possibilities. This wouldn't hurt us other than not giving us an attack vector. It's not really something we really care about commanding too much. And just take one last look to make sure there's nothing we're missing. They can't even expose this corner to anything for 2. Not that 2 would be enough at this point. They couldn't push that without taking damage. They can't push that without taking damage. They can push that one, but in the range they take damage. We've definitely won this one. Let's put this in. What's the most fun way to end this? I'll just keep it as is. And here we go. And so there you have it. We win by a score of 13.5 to 8, a full 5.5 point victory. You can see here, since we went heavy fly, it's not a surprise we scored 4 fly points. We also got a range from our dragon. They won the speed battle overall, which is surprising given how much speed we had in this deck, but they really went super fast. Lots of high speed. But wasn't enough, obviously. And when we didn't want to win, that was usually to our favor. They are the only one who got a high ground, but we got more challenge points as well. And the flight and the challenge were the real difference in this game. As far as final score, we'll take one last look at the board. You can see here again how we shaped everything out. They did a good job of hiding stuff, but the problem with hiding stuff is we were already in advantage. That can work better against a defensive deck that doesn't score a lot of points. But when you're up against something like a heavy offensive deck, like a lot of flight or aura or range, where we're scoring points like crazy, you need to be scoring yourself. You can't just play defensively like that. Again, I don't know they had a better option in any of these situations, but that's the whole point. We try to build a deck that would put us in a position to succeed and just pilot it wisely, and good things will happen. As always, if you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments. You can also check out the Discord for the game, leave any thoughts there. The developer Carl is very active on there as well if you have questions for him. And hope you're having yourself a great day.